All right, we back. Welcome to another episode of Off Duty Opinions podcast, where real conversation meets unfiltered opinions. I'm your host, Anthony, and we got two special guests in the building. But before I introduce them, I want to say what's up to my boys, my co-host. JJ, what up, dog?
What's up? Coming off birthday weekend, I got to go to Texas Day, Brazil with the family. That was nice. And then coming off of what I believe is the greatest sporting event in history, UFC Freedom 250. It was insane. It was magical. It was special. The American underdog captured title championship for the main event. It was incredible. Ty, what's up with you?
Freaky Ty is back. I'm just going to take the name. But, just got back from Nashville. Had a great time. Been drunk for about 5 days. So hopefully it's going to be a 6th day.
That's good stuff, man.
Yeah,
good
just
stuff.
Enjoying myself.
On the internet, he's known as Stick to Logic. In the hood, he's known as Tyrone. In the suburb, amongst the whites, he's known as Ty.
Yeah.
But on the podcast, we call him Freaky Ty. I was working on the introduction, dog.
I like that.
Good stuff. So Nashville, huh?
Yep, Nashville, man.
Good time?
Great time, man.
Really?
Great time.
Give us a little story.
Well, I mean...
we uncensored.
Yeah, well, here we go. You're trying to get me in trouble. That's
I am a little bit.
I just had a great time, man. Great time. Yeah. Maybe we'll share that story on the Patreon or something like that.
Bro,
Patreon going. See, I gotta get paid to share those stories.
Maybe you share it on your OnlyFans.
Right.
Bro, I love Nashville, man.
Yeah.
I've been once, maybe last year, 2 years ago, bro. It is a really good time, man. Real good time. All the bars that are down there, man, and how they got the different levels of them, live bands. You ever been?
Yeah, so I got beef with Nashville. I didn't know that every single bar you go to charges you a service fee. So if you go there like me, you're wanting to check everything out. You know what I mean? And when you look at your bill, you're like, whoa, what's this $7 fee? $7 fee. You're racking up more expenses, and it's already expensive to be on Broadway and go bar hopping.
Yeah.
And you racking all this up on top of it, that pissed me off. But other than that, it was beautiful. I love the people there. I love the environment. I didn't feel like I had to watch my back every 5 seconds. There's not a lot of diversity when I went there, so I like that. I like my white people, all right? I feel safe.
It's better to be pissed off than pissed on.
That's correct.
Well, let's introduce these guests, man. So both of our guests, man, they share probably over 50 years in law enforcement experience. Both of them were with the Ohio State Patrol. Both of them served on SWAT. Team leaders, sniper team leader, tactical commander, multiple awards between them both. Obviously, Steve, you served in the military with the Green Berets.
Did.
So, man, this is some pretty good stuff. We're happy to have you guys on the show. So I want to introduce my boy Brandon Cruz and Steve Ross to give it up for these guys. Yes, thanks for joining us, man. So obviously, Brandon, I've been knowing you for a while. I'm not sure if you guys know, but Brandon was actually my second phase coach when I was on field training. So it was a pretty good time, man. Brandon, how you been, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Did you want me to start off with the second phase?
Go ahead.
Did you learn anything?
Tell
Did
a
you
story.
learn anything on the
So
first
yeah,
phase?
since we're telling stories, we'll go ahead and go with it. So Anthony, you know how he is, man. He he kind of gets a little full of himself every now and then. So
A little bit.
and of course, I'll give it a little bit of credit to myself that obviously I was a good coach, and that gave him some of that credibility to go with it. But we were, we at the beginning of shift, we went over to Speedway off of Lane over in Upper Arlington.
Yep.
Usually it was an FOP meeting. Upper Arlington was there, CPD was there. We go over there beginning of shift, get coffee, and just shoot the shit with everybody. And Anthony was like, BC, man, he's like, man, I'm feeling pretty good. Like, I don't think I need a phase 3. And I'm like,
That's crazy.
and I'm like, okay. And okay. So it was probably like Friday, Saturday night. It was busy night on campus. People were out everywhere. And we happened to just roll up North Dorm area and find this drunk dude just passed out drunk. I mean, just silly drunk. So Anthony goes over there, tries to, wake him up, try to get him, hey, can we get you a ride, get you some help, whatever. Basically, nothing to it. The guy's, he's got to arrest him. So he goes and arrests him, starts, handcuffs him, rolls him over. The guy starts kind of fighting a little bit. Not really, just kind of just refusing to get handcuffed. Starts taking stuff out of his pockets. And we're a little bit from the cruiser. He just starts throwing stuff on the ground.
Yeah.
Wallet goes on the ground. So, and I'm like, all right, he's ready for phase 3. I ain't going to say nothing. So I just let him go. So he picks the guy up, takes him over to the cruiser, and now he's got to stuff him in the car, right? Guy doesn't want to go in the car. So again, you don't need phase 3, bro. I'm just
I
gonna sit here. I'm just gonna sit here and watch. So I just arm on the top of the car, and I'm just sitting there watching. So he's fighting with this guy, trying to get this guy to get in the car, and the guy's just laughing, because Anthony's trying to push him in there, and next thing you know, he farts on him, and he's like, "I just shit on you," and we were probably out there. I don't know, it seemed like 5 minutes. It was probably 30 seconds,
right?
But eventually, Anthony was like, "Yo, BC, man, can you help me?
Can you help me out, man?" I tell you, man, I was thankful to have Brandon as a coach, man, because I didn't have such a good coach. I guess my first phase, it was real slow. I was on day shift, but then my second phase, I went to nights, and it was just have a real good group of guys that were working, and it was good, man. And then, like I said, I think after like 2 weeks, I was ready to get cut loose, and he was like, "Cool, brother, let's get you cut loose." You know what I mean? And then after that run, I was a little humble, And then Brandon, he still didn't give up on me. You know what I mean? He still kind of just let me do my thing, man. So Brandon, good guy, been knowing this dude for about 10 years now, man. Ever since I've been a young cop, man. So. But Steve, man, I've met you through Brandon.
That's right.
I remember meeting you the summer when Brandon had the apartment. We used to go to the pool.
Oh, the apartment from hell.
Yeah,
that's right.
You can say it.
I
when I was going through my divorce and finding myself
good,
again.
good.
Right,
I really hope we keep some of those stories on the podcast. There is one good one I want Brandon to share, man. But Steve, man, when I met you, I know that you were the commander when Brandon was on SWAT.
Right.
So both of you guys started off with OSP. Steve, you were also in the military, correct?
That's right.
Okay. What made you become a cop, man?
I didn't know what OSP did. Number one, I wasn't from Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
So my first day, even out on the road, I was like, "What the hell? This is the rest of my career, looking at car crashes." And then that's the God's truth. You know the difference between a story and a fairy tale, right?
I don't.
A fairy tale begins once upon a time, and a story begins, this is no shit. So I'm telling you no shit.
All right.
I didn't know what I was doing. And
Okay.
the first crash I handled was a fatal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it got me out of some hot water back then.
Okay.
Because I had some other things going on, that the patrol didn't like, and I said, well, this is good that I have this right now. Even though the guy died, he was already dead. Nothing I could do about that.
Right.
But, that saved me probably a pretty good ass chew on that day.
Well, tell us about your trajectory with the patrol. So, getting promoted through the ranks, and what assignments that you had, and where you were stationed at, and all that stuff.
Well, you know what? I started out, of course, 6 months living at the patrol. You lived there at the academy, and after I graduated, I went to Chillicothe, of all places. The patrol sends you to the worst places you want to go, and we've had guys even cry because they were sent someplace. We had a brother sent down to Portsmouth, and he almost died.
Damn.
Because he hated Portsmouth. He was the only black guy down there.
Yeah. Right.
It was crazy stuff. But make a long story short, I went to Chillicothe. Then about my first year, they started the drug interdiction team. So I went to what they call TDIT, traffic and drug interdiction. I worked out of Circleville.
Okay.
I was there for about 2 years, and that's in the first years when they started SWAT. It's SRT is what it was called.
Okay.
Jokingly, Steve Ross's team.
Steve Ross's team.
But it was a special response team. People ask us what we did, and if we say SRT, they have no idea. So we just say we were in SWAT, which is really what it was. And so I got in there. I came in on the ground floor. I was what they call an original plank owner. So I started with 29 guys after selection, and just started doing that as a side job, so to speak, part-time. You were full-time when you got called, but you were part-time up to then. I got promoted to Batavia, the highest crash post in the state of Ohio, besides Massillon, and I still didn't know what the hell I was doing, there. I mean, I knew what I was doing with my job, but and thank goodness, fact, the first day I showed up, my commander was a lieutenant, and he looked at me and he said, I know you. When I came in his office, he invited me in. He said, hey, come on here, I need to talk to you. He said, we haven't met, but I know you. And I'm like thinking to myself, oh, man, he knows what I did in the service, and he knows I'm, on SRT now. And he rolled a piece of paper over to me and said, sign that, what is a letter of when you're a bad guy.
Oh, you just got wrote up. It wasn't last chance, was it?
No, it wasn't last chance.
That early? Did you get last chance?
No, I got wrote up, and I'm like, is this how you know me? He goes, yeah. He goes, sign this. And what it was for, I was racing another trooper on US 35.
So did you get a verbal or written?
I got a written right
Okay.
off the bat.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, they come down to pick me up in an airplane, and he has to take me to the airport for a prison break up in Mansfield.
Wow.
And then he said, dude, how do you rate an airplane? And I just played it out, man. I just rode with the flow, and I said, I don't know, it's just my job. So,
man, I guarantee there's some stories you guys have, and I'm pretty sure we'll get to a lot of those, man. But Brandon, how'd you start with the patrol?
When I was in high school, I had a cousin that was a state trooper. Went in the Marine Corps for 4 years, got out, and was a state trooper. So I said, man, I want to emulate that. Thought I would play high school football, and then I blew up my knee my senior year of football. Marine Corps recruiter said, no, we won't accept you because you have 2 pins placed in your knee. So I didn't know what the heck I was going to do. Thought I went to college. Thought I was getting a beer drinking degree. That didn't work out very well for me. So after that, one of my best friends from high school got on the highway patrol, and he saw me out, and he was like, hey, man, did you like lose sight of it? I said, yeah, I did. I said, come apply. So I did, and I got on right when I was 21 with the academy. Graduated the academy, went to Swanton. My first post, there was no home openings at my home post, which was Defiance. I was at Swanton for about 8 months. Didn't know what the heck I was doing, but fake it till you make it. Transferred to Defiance. Was cool to be back home, but real quickly, man, it was like I need to be near a big city, and I had aspirations of being on SRT. Kind of like I was young and dumb in high school. I didn't know what the heck, what was that? You thought you know everything, right? So I see people from my upperclassmen that would come back to school and come for lunch, and they would come back in their military uniforms, and you see the Navy come in, you see the Army come in, you see the Marines come in, like, that motherfucker looks squared away. That's right. What I want to be, right? Right. So that's basically what, that's why I said, well, I want to be a Marine. Well, kind of same thing for being a highway patrol. It's like, I grew up in a small town. You had your local police, you had your county sheriff, and you had the highway patrol. It was like, whenever a trooper came in, that's when everybody got, hey, this is serious, right? Yeah. Troopers are here. So I was like, I want to be that guy. Yeah. So joined the highway patrol, got there, and then eventually I saw the SRT run around the academy, and I was like, I want to be one of those guys, right? So I did what I had to do to try to get on the team. At the time, there was a residency requirement to be so many air miles from the city of Columbus. So I had to transfer down towards Columbus. So I took the first transfer that I could get down, and that took me to the State House. I was at the State House downtown for 8 months, and then I transferred back out to the field. Came in, met the major at the time, and he was like, why are you leaving the field? And I was like, sir, this is just to get me down to Columbus. I'm going to be putting in my transfer as soon as I get to the State House, to get back to the field post. And he's like, good answer.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
And then in 2000, I got on SRT. I tried out, and I'm lucky enough that they took me on the team.
And that's when I became the commander.
2000, yeah.
2000, and I was running the Granville post. I was doing dual things, and so I started running SRT in 2000. I got promoted to staff lieutenant. You go up through trooper, sergeant, lieutenant, staff lieutenant, captain, and that was the slot for SRT. So I came up through the ranks. I had a good background from my previous military, and I saw Brandon the first time in 2000. I said, really? And
he said, how they let this illegal get in there?
How did this happen?
How they let this illegal Mexican get into the...
I could swim.
We had to have a quote on the team back then. So, Brandon was one.
Yeah, DEI. He's a DEI selection.
DEI selection for sure.
But no, so I ran the team, and 2000, we were going full bore, and everybody says the highway patrol is, you work the road. That wasn't the case. There's 88 counties in Ohio. At the time, there were only 3 full-time teams. It was Columbus, Toledo, and Cleveland. And we became the 4th full-time team. And Franklin County became one later on. So very few full-time teams in the state. And we were all deputized U.S. Marshals. So we did fugitive apprehension. And when we left, we started out like everybody else, walk, run, crawl, whatever. Crawl, walk, run. And by the time we left, we were running about 2,500 fugitive apprehension warrants a year, 29 guys. And we were all full-time. We didn't dress in the trooper uniform. We had our own Tahoes or SUVs, and we just went to town from there. And it was unbelievable.
Did you, with the fugitive apprehension, did you deal with like the transport back when you're releasing them or anything like that? Nope. When I have a buddy that works for ICE, and he tells me that he will literally... Of course, bro. I love ICE. I cannot state that enough. I love ICE. And he literally he'll fly them back. and he gets paid a special duty rate when he does it. He will fly them back to Guatemala or whatever and be escorting them on the plane. It's insane.
We would dump them off.
Damn.
That sounds much more
Not off the planes.
Golly.
We would dump them off to whoever the municipality had the warrant out for them.
Where are we dropping, boys?
Yeah, we call it a failure drill. Anyway,
So look, so tell us. So obviously, I'm pretty sure the people that watch our podcast, they want to hear some cool SWAT stories and kind of like what is a day in the life of SWAT guys? What does it look like? What does the training look like? Selection process, all that stuff.
I mean, our selection process at the time when I went through was a 3-day long process. Once we got on and we became full time, it then became a 3-day tryout, and then once you made it through that tryout process, then you went immediately to SWAT school. So then you had to make it through that week. So it was like a week and a half. But when we went full time, is what the tryout selection process was.
Typical day. What does that look like for you guys?
Typical day really depends. As a full-time unit, we had to get at a minimum 40 hours of training, just the team, and then you had to get at least 16 hours of training per specialty. So we had, breachers, we had medics, we had robot operators, we had snipers. Those were all specialties within the team, so they had to get additional 16 hours on top of the 40 hours that we had to train just as a team. We had to train just on, regular SWAT operations, what you see, but, CBRN stuff, acronyms for methyl ethyl bad stuff, radiological, chemical, all stuff like that. We had to operate with, SCBAs. We had to work with night vision. We had to work with the different type of equipment that we had, the armored vehicles that we had, the ramp systems that we had, all that stuff that we had to make sure all of our people were proficient in all that stuff continually all the time.
well, and you have to look at it. I come from an ODA, an Operational Detachment Alpha, and we had specialties, 2 guys in each thing in a 12-man team. So when I became the commander, I made sure there were 3 teams, and it was red, white, and blue. Red team, Brandon commanded here in Columbus. We had the blue team up north and the white team down south. So the way we've configured those teams, they were 9-person teams. I configured it so they would all have what he just talked about. There would be an explosive a breacher, but we did explosive breaching too. That was a hard sell because my bosses thought it was going to be like Hiroshima, and it wasn't. So we had breachers, we had the communications guys, we had the medics, and then we had the snipers. And Brandon was the sniper team lead for me when we were there, when we started.
So tell us about like so with the team, the positions that one team probably would hold. So I know you mentioned snipers, you mentioned breachers.
There'd be like 2 snipers. We only had 1 medic because that was somebody that pretty much was almost EMT or paramedic qualified. We did use a lot of outside agencies' help when we went to a barricade or a hostage barricade. We had them on call, much like probably OSU does and Columbus does. Then we had the breachers. We'd have 2 breachers so they could back each other up because you can split that team, and they both have 2 more capabilities. I was all about the force multiplier, and that's what Special Forces did. We were force multipliers overseas. In Afghanistan, Iraq, Lebanon, wherever we were, that was our job. So that's how it worked out. And the guys that were loose, we just called them operators. If you have 9 guys, there's somebody has to be a gun runner, an infantry guy, so to speak. And that's how we set it up. And that's I think the biggest thing about our team is we had the ability to select people. We didn't have to take anybody. I'll be honest with you, and I think Brandon can vouch. They gave me pretty much carte blanche. We started the 100-man mobile field force that you see now. We started that on our watch, and it was under my command and Brandon's command.
And with you being able to have that detailed selection that you could have, I bet your team was very, very good, and they went to your standards, your expectations. I'm sure everybody communicated, and it was a cohesive unit. Is that correct?
It was awesome. It's the way it should be.
Well, Steve,
Absolutely.
Before you answer that,
Okay.
I remember you telling me a story at Brandon's wedding about a house you guys hit on the south side of Columbus where someone may have hit the wrong house.
Oh, yeah. That was
let's talk about this squared away team and one of your squared away operators here now.
Well, let me just
Everybody
tell
makes
you.
mistakes.
So we get a warrant, a no-knock search warrant, but I want to regress for 1 minute.
Yeah.
That's the difference between a lot of these teams that have unions also. Not bashing them, but usually they have to go by seniority.
Right.
We didn't have to go by seniority.
Yeah.
We had a minimum of 3 years they had to be on. I mean, I had a Navy SEAL on the team. We had Marines, we had Army guys, so it was really a very cohesive team.
Yeah.
So one day we get a warrant for, I forget, it was a drug warrant, I think.
It was. Yep.
And you would know because, yeah. So anyway, this is a drug warrant. We're
burned in my memory.
no knock warrant. For those of you who don't know, no knock warrant means you really don't have to do anything. You don't have to announce. You can go up and knock, and you should wait. We don't have to announce where you wait 30 seconds, which most teams don't. Excuse me, but they try to. Nobody has a stopwatch on. So this, when we're doing this warrant, I have them work it up. And so Brandon, being a sniper, they know a lot, about the outside and the surroundings. He goes with one of our breachers, which we would normally send out. He scopes the house out. They find out what the best entry point is, the neighborhood. They're looking for toys in the yard, see if there's kids, dogs, and all that. So they come back and they brief. They tell me, look, good house. Front doors, easy numbers. There's a tire out in front around the mailbox. Won't be hard to find. This is a nighttime warrant, no knock. And we heard a dog. So we knew this was the right house, pretty much, based on what we had prior to. So we get in the bear, and our bear vehicle weighs about 30,000 pounds. We had a couple of them, and everybody trains on the bear, and there's maybe, 15 guys we had? Mm-hmm. We had a containment team, which surrounds the house, and then we have an entry team. So
Containment was on separate vehicles.
You're right, and they're getting up to the house, and they're surrounding it so nobody gets out before we get there. So we're running pretty hard to get there, and as we come closer to the house, I had a bad feeling, and sometimes you get those feelings, and you either have to act on them or just ignore them. And I just said, you know what, we're going to make this a knock and announce. I don't even know where it came from, and so I talked to Brandon, I talked to the other breacher, and I said, look, can you guys get us to the right house? Now everybody's a little pissed because they like to do the no knock, that violence of action, which should be thrown out the door unless it's a hostage rescue. So I'm thinking, okay, you guys know how to get to this house, to the back door? And they said, absolutely. I said, are you sure you can get us to the back door? I was adamant about it. And they said, oh, yeah, LT, we can get there. I said, okay. So we roll up to the house, the back door. Containment's already out. I see these guys train up, come out of the armored vehicle, get in a stack, go up to the door. And as they start to knock on the door, I can hear the front containment team saying, wrong house.
Oh.
And I'm like, what? And they said, wrong house. And all of a sudden, I called abort. They knocking on the door. There's a dog at the door. We called abort. They came back and ended up, it was the next door house. And so containment rolled over there. The guy tries to climb out the window, and we get the guy. I have to go in and talk to these two women who had a Labrador Retriever or a Golden Lab in there and tell them that, hey, look, our bad. At least we think about if we had breached the door,
right? Yeah,
shot the dog, or you hit it with knee knockers or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm in there at the couch with our negotiator that's with me, and she's a female, thank goodness, and she's trying to calm them down. And so I think nothing of it. And the next day we have a detail at the convention center, and we're in suits and ties and everything for coverage for some Israelis that are in to give a talk. So I walk in, and over here at a table sits my colonel and all the command staff. And I get one of those finger things, come here. So I'm walking across thinking, hey, here, I'm going to get my ass chewed. It was Halloween night that we hit this house. And my commander, the colonel, I'll give him credit. He said, Steve, I heard you guys went trick-or-treating last night. And I said, yes, sir. He said, the reason that we're not in deep water is because your guys handle it professionally. And that's what it comes from, selecting your people. You get to know them. I'm not saying the other guys don't know, but it's just when you have that ability to select, that's always the way to go.
I had a question. What are some of the personality traits you guys look for that would make somebody good for the unit?
Yeah. I mean, obviously obviously we look for, because we put them through all different kinds of stress inoculation stuff, but just, understand during the selection process, none of these people have been, SRT, prior to. All they knew, that some of them might have been, former Green Berets, it might have been MARSOC, they might have been SEALs, they might have been PJs, who knows, right? We might have some of that background, but the majority of them will not. Okay. So we can't really test them on how are you going to operate as an SRT operator? We kind of test them on what do you know already as a trooper, and how do you kind of deal with some of these situations. So we know what we need to look for, trying to stay calm under pressure and to be able to think through stressful situations and things like that. So, but we have to put that into a scenario that is something that they have somewhat been through prior to. Because if we test them on tactics and things like that, then during that 3-day selection, then it's unfair for them, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what we look for the first 3 days. That's why we enacted the SWAT school immediately right after, because we said, okay, now we've seen that they're able to deal with stressful situations. They're able to think under pressure and things like that. Are they able now to learn tactics? And are they able to, once we teach them tactics, are they able to put it to practice? Mm-hmm. So that's a whole nother reason. So again, you got people that make it through the 3-day selection process, but don't make it through the week-long SWAT school. So there are people that wash out on both sides. There's some people that we even have, it's kind of crazy to think about it, because these are current law enforcement officers during the PT test, initial PT test. They come in, we do the PT test right away, and they don't pass. You got to go back to your post, right? So that's kind of, I've never been in that position. I would hate to be in that position, because that everybody knows what you're going down to Columbus to go do, right? You're going to go test to get on SRT, and then they expect you to be gone for a week and a half, and you come back that same day, and they're like, "Bro, what happened?"
Yeah. But you know what? It was an eye opener to a lot of people, and I would say on the average we'd have maybe anywhere from 20 to 30 trying out maybe once a year, whatever. We'd take maybe 2. Mm-hmm. We didn't have to take anybody, and there was times through my 16 years as commander, we didn't take anybody. Wow. But the one nice thing about having a team like we had, and to this day they still do it, and I think they need to keep doing it, we promoted within our ranks. We didn't bring an outside sergeant in to run a team, because he wouldn't know what's going on. So we tried to promote those guys within our ranks, and our guys are probably the highest promoted section in OSP because of their experience. Mm-hmm. We think about how many they're doing. I mean, 2,500 a year. It's nonstop. We were 24/7. I could tell you stories that we were up 48 hours at a time, jumping warrant to warrant, or having a call out in the middle of a warrant service. Right. And that's the way the commanders felt too. I followed 2 commanders. I followed the guy that started SRT. He was there for a year and a half, 2 years, Bob Welsh. And then the next was a guy by the name of Bill Lanning. He was there for maybe a year or 2. And then I took over. And because I was young, I had 16 years of that, and it's a stressful job. And I'm not talking about the run and gun stuff. I'm talking about just managing that many people and worrying about if they're going to make it home at night driving, or worrying about if they're getting involved in the shooting. And, we had all that. And
to regress, to go back to kind of what we were talking about, even with the selection process and what the day-to-day is like, obviously knowing your guys' background, where you guys come from, and, we work very closely with Columbus in years past. But, we're doing the same function, but now we're statewide. So we've got guys that are not just in Columbus, we got or a surrounding area. We got guys that are in Toledo. We got guys that are in Sandusky. We got guys that are in Portsmouth, Youngstown, Cincinnati, and Dayton. So when some of these guys when we get called out somewhere, depending on where we're going, they might be responding for quite some time. Wow. And even so, if our training location might be down in London, it might be at Ravenna Arsenal. And we're bringing everybody over there to do training and stuff like that. So, they're going all over the state. We're getting pulled in all different directions. One day we might be in Youngstown. The next day we're going to be in Cincinnati. The next day we're going to be in Toledo. So, yeah, it was kind of crazy at times to think about where we were traveling to, and the amount of time we were traveling, and all stuff like that.
What's that like for your family situation? I don't know if you guys have young kids, wives. Yeah, it
sucks.
And they're kind of signing up for it too, right?
We both had training spouses.
Yeah, and we both had young kids when we were on the teams going through it. So, my kids are all grown now. My youngest kid, just graduated graduated college last year.
Oh,
so, thank you. But I've my kids all grew up through it, and there was a lot of times that I wasn't home a lot. You leave when it was dark, and you weren't coming home until it was dark.
Yeah.
So you just knew that was part of it. There were times where you were going to be home. There was times where you were going to be available for things. There were times where you'd be out with the family, and the phone would go off, and be like, "Hey, we need a bill. We got to go."
I was in the Lucasville prison riot for 11 days. I mean, I didn't come home. It was over Easter.
We got We got to talk about that because that's like national news. I feel like a lot of people know about the Lucasville
I can tell you
prison
about
riots. Can you give
Lucasville.
us some of that? Yeah.
I can tell you about Lucas. So we got called on Easter, and 1993, I think it was, and that was probably the first big call out that the new team was on. You know, the new SRT guys. So we're down there for 11 days. I think we pulled 9 or 10 bodies out. I had 15 SRT guys went into the prison that night. There were 400 prisoners loose, and it almost looked like we were herding cattle to try and get them back into the area they needed to go in. And you got 15 guys, they close the door behind you, and it's game on. You know, of course, we had all kind of weapons. We had, you know, the sub guns, the ARs, and all that. When you got 400 people and 15, you know, it feels like you're going to a ball game. And so that lasted 11 days, and I remember we kept hearing stories about how many bodies were stacked up in the gymnasium during that time. They surrounded the outside fence with soldiers and state troopers, and they gave them shotguns. There's a double fence, and they said, hey, if anybody jumps the fence, shoot them. Well, you know, that's a little bit outside the law, believe it or not. And regardless if we wanted to or not, that wasn't the right call for somebody to put down. I don't know who gave that command.
Use of force continuum, guys.
Yeah,
jumped
two
the
to the
fence,
body, one to the head.
Things were different back in 1993.
They were. That was I'm an OG, man.
And for the record, I was still in high school in 1993.
Yeah, so they surround the prison. They put the 15 of us in. They didn't let the prison guards go out in the beginning because that was one of their own. They didn't want to get, you know, the people that were captured by them, so to speak, taken kidnapped or whatever you want to call it. And they put them in prison uniforms. There were 7 or 8 of them. But anyway, we went out every day and we pulled bodies out of that yard, and nighttime usually, and some of it was pretty atrocious. You know, some where they emasculated the guys, you know, cut their balls off, stuff, you know, rags in their mouths. I mean, everything you could think of. Go ahead.
That was wasn't it the longest prison riot in history? I think it was historical. I think because all the gang leaders united, which is not good.
Right.
Blacks, whites, Mexicans, they all came together.
Yeah.
I heard a story that they put bags over the heads of the correctional officers, and they threw them off the balcony and hung them by random.
No,
is that true?
That's the kind of stuff we heard, and it's not true.
Okay.
They did hang sheets in the above the ceilings to catch the gas grenades, but the idiots didn't know our gas grenades would burn right through them.
Okay.
You know, we weren't using non-pyro. We were using the real deal CS. So I guess on the 11th day, we heard they were breaking windows out. That's BS. We had a helicopter crash while this was going on in the yard, outside the yard, and we thought it went in the yard when that happened. So the 11th day, they decided to give up. And I know because I was the first one into the prison. They pulled, this is why I know they didn't break any windows out. It took a D9 bulldozer 5 pulls to pull a set of windows out of that prison. And it was an upper level because we had 3 people still missing that weren't accounted for. So this is a funny. So I climb up the ladder with my boss behind me, and I had to take all my gear off. And I'm only 5'8", and maybe $170. And I climb up the ladder. I'm looking in through the hole, and I can see
For those of you watching on TV, that's tiny.
I got your tiny. So anyway, better not take that out because I don't want the truth to be out. So I climb through the window, and when I climb in, it's a cell maybe 4 by 6, and the first thing is like 1 o'clock in the morning. The first thing I noticed was all the inside was on fire of the prison, dark, and I stepped in a pool of blood. The whole cell floor was about a 1/4 inch of blood. And they had stabbed this guy, I think they said 56 times. And this is where the weight equipment got taken out of the prison. They had driven one of the weight bars through his head. And then they put a shoelace around his neck and put a bar in it and twirled it to choke him out. I don't know why they had to do that. But evidently he was throwing feces down on them, the Muslim part of that group. You know why they rioted? Because they didn't want to take the shot for tuberculosis, which has pig in it. And so the Muslims got pissed, and that's how that happened. So I'm checking this guy. My boss, first commander, is a really great guy, is covering me from the window, and he said, Rasta, he said, get a pulse. And I look at him. I've got a flashlight. I look at him, and I'm like, get a pulse. And he goes, get a damn pulse on the guy. And I said, he's dead. And I've seen a lot of dead people overseas. I said, he's dead, Cap. And he said, Ross, to get a pulse. I didn't want to get a pulse, so I just reached down, grabbed him by the ear, and picked him up, and some things fell out that probably shouldn't have. And I said, what do you think? And he said, get the F out of here. So, and then the next morning we go in, and as soon as we open the door, there's some homemade bombs there that they had made. Found another guy that they had stabbed that was just a white guy who did all the paintings in the prison. They've had murals and stuff, and they said they were killing all the people that were narcs and things like that. But this guy, from what I understand, I think his name was Elton. And they stabbed him, and you could see where they drug him through. And then they were breaking through the prison floors, because there's underneath that prison at the time there were huge roadways, and we were down there when the FBI heard them kill Landingham, the guard, and they killed him by. I don't need to talk about that, but they killed him, and so yeah, it was just one of those things. But that was the big turn for SRT. That's where we really they saw that we needed better equipment than we had, and it's always a knee-jerk reaction. It was a good knee-jerk reaction because now we're able to do things we need to do. One thing Brandon didn't mention, that we did have air assets. That's one thing that we have from the state. We had helicopters and airplanes.
So I'll ask a question here. I'm pretty sure our viewers want to know, and obviously we call it an officer-involved shooting or whatnot, but to some of the viewers who don't know, if you ever killed someone or what that looked like, you know what I mean? So could you kind of walk us through, if it's okay, if you want to talk about it, you can, you don't have to. Okay.
But I will talk about the incident Brandon was in if he wants to go further.
Yeah, sure. Just for the person, we know what that looks like, and we kind of know almost the trauma and what goes behind that. But for our everyday viewer who don't know, who's not the police, kind of let them in a little bit. Maybe you can kind of just explain the situation, maybe like the
How about
the
if
scene.
I tell you the situation and he talks from his standpoint?
That'd be great. Yeah.
Is that good? Okay. We get called up to was it Mansfield?
Mansfield.
Mansfield, and we get called up because a guy, a gas company went to this man's house and they were going to turn his gas off. Hadn't paid his bill or whatever. I don't know all the semantics behind that. So he's at the door talking to the guy, and the guy in the door, I don't even know his name. The guy said, hey, I'll be right back. And he comes back with an AR-15, and he asked the gas guy, do we have a problem? And, of course, the gas guy said no, and he backed off. He calls Mansfield PD. They get involved, and he goes barricade on them. They were barricaded for a few hours, but we get the call to come up and assist them. And that's how we got a lot of our calls from agencies that don't have full-time SWAT team.
Explain what a barricade is.
A barricade is when somebody's in a home and they don't have a hostage, and they're handled entirely different. Hostage barricade, which we've had and lost somebody on, that is different from a barricade. Barricade, honestly, I would tell people, when I got on the scene with our team, I would say, look, you got 30 minutes to come out. If not, I can't guarantee your safety. All hell's going to break loose. And hell breaking loose would be gassing the house, knocking it, taking a bear and just taking the house apart if we have to. And I meant it. And my guys knew I meant it. So going back to Mansfield, so we get called. We take over from Mansfield PD, their team, and they had a small team. And they were with us the whole time, so it was their ball game. But once we come in, one of the things I have to do from a commander's standpoint is find out who's in charge. And if you're asking for our help, the first thing I ask the city manager, the mayor, or the police chief, are you going to handle this or we? How do you want it to do it? Because there can only be one chief. And I said, however you want to do it, we'll do whatever you need to do.
That's awesome from like a leader standpoint too, to have that respect and talk to them to make sure the operation goes smoothly and everything like that.
I pissed some people off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, got to. It's necessary, right?
Yeah, and I won't name names, but we'd have it out sometimes, and but rightfully so. I mean, I'm responsible for these guys and being fiduciary smart for my agency, and liability-wise. So that we take it over, and in the course of this barricade that went on, what was it, a day and a half?
It was 27 hours total. So
27 hours.
Just a little bit over a day.
We heard a lot of things. I remember we pulled up in the bear. There was a window with an air conditioner in it, and we couldn't get gas. We heard he had a bunker in the basement. He was a veteran. And so I asked Mansfield, I said, hey, look, we got to get that out of here. Do you guys have a ram or something we can push it out with? And they said, oh, yeah. And before I knew it, 4 guys came up with a 4-man ram, must be like a telephone pole, and and I'm sitting right here in the bear in Technicolor watching this happen. There's the air conditioner. They start beating this air conditioner in, and the guy puts 20 rounds through the air conditioner, and the rounds are coming where these guys are standing. The shield that they had was a pistol shield.
Oh, no.
It wouldn't handle a rifle. 5 rounds went through that shield. I have pictures of it. Went through that shield and never hit anybody behind it.
Wow.
So I backed them off. Wasn't the thing to do. The next thing we tried was to put an explosive charge on it with a robot to blow it in. It blew, but we found out later he had buttressed it up behind so it wouldn't blow in. So it went at an angle. We still couldn't get gas in there. So I got thinking, what can we do? And I said, get a hold of the fire department and get a 4-inch hose to that hydrant. Let's hook this hose up and put it in the basement. We'll flood him out. And I said, how quick will it be to flood out? And they said, this hose will fill that basement in probably 5 minutes. So they come up, they throw it in from an angle, and it starts to load up. He reaches out through the window, full automatic, and he cuts the hose in half. And that hose is doing one of those things you see at a gas station flying everywhere. And so we turned that off, and I went and had him get another hose and made sure it had I think it's called a turnbuckle on the end. And I had him put a 12-foot pike on it. So when they shoved it in there, he couldn't shove it right back out. So they shoved it in deep. They hit the water, and I'm telling you, water came out of every orifice of that basement. And on top of that, I asked for a water cannon. We put a water cannon on the first floor, and we flooded it from there. So he couldn't use that at all. And about that time, we start thinking, what else can we do to get this guy out? We ended up starting to gas him, and he started shooting at our guys on perimeter. He ricocheted a few shots off the bear, but nothing to worry about. And then we called Columbus to ask for some Bearcats, because now our bears, because they weigh 30,000 pounds, they won't stand up in that yard.
Columbus had the boom on the front of their Bearcats, the breaching
into
boom,
the house.
yeah. Right? So what we were wanting to do is
open up.
We didn't know where this guy was exactly in the house, right? We were talking. We were told about the doomsday prepper bunker possibly in the basement, but he had free reign of the house. So we had already taken off the front door with explosives, and so we were starting to communicate. Going back, kind of working with Mansfield, working with Columbus, and kind of how all this stuff worked. Prior to that, we were letting egos aside, right? It wasn't we're the Highway Patrol, you're Mansfield, you're ASORT, you're CPD. We started working with everybody, right? We started communicating with the guys from CPD. We started working with them. We started working with the guys from ASORT. The day that we went for this event, we were supposed to train with Mansfield on what would happen if, vice versa, if they were handling a situation and we needed a team to switch out. They were handling a situation, and they needed a team to switch out. They were supposed to do that, but this happened, right? We had already been communicating with CPD leadership at the time about working together, and we were doing trainings together and things like that. So we knew we could call them. Called them and said, hey, Ron Nichols. I called Sergeant Ron Nichols and I said, hey, this is what we got going on. We need some booms, right? Do you guys have them available? They sent up 2 Bearcats, right? And with the boom, so we were going to take off corners of the house, start taking away rooms, and that's exactly what they happened.
Before that happened, though, they had already shot 3 robots up that we put in there.
So you guys sent robots into the house?
Sent robots to the house, and Brandon will get on that in a minute, but they shot 2 of them in the yard, not ours, so I didn't care. No, I did. Our robot was like 2 weeks old. It was like a $200,000 robot, and we sent it in and got the shit shot out of it, too, literally. And so this guy, we knew he didn't want to come out. So I had put sniper team. I got with the Columbus SWAT, had sent some of their snipers up. I put our guys and their guys, and I gave them sections in the house to watch. Like you've got, side 1, these windows, side 2. Houses are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 being the front door. Fire guys call it A, B, C, D, but cops can't remember that, And so no, we number by number. And then at that time, it was the next day. And I remember telling him, if anybody gets a shot at this guy because he is actively shooting, we're going to have to take him out. We can't put a guy in there we're not going to bum rush the house. No life is worth somebody coming out. Because we had filled it with gas. We'd done everything we could do at that point. And then I told Brandon, I think I even said, hey, put somebody in the turret, and he went in the turret of the bear.
So Brandon, walk us through the time you got the call, whether it's a call out, I know you guys said that you were a trainer or something like that, but walk us through the time you actually got the call.
Yeah, so we were supposed to train. Something happened. We just couldn't train with them that day. So I was at home with my kids.
They had a barricade. That's why we couldn't train.
I was at home with my kids, and you know, I'm gonna tell them myself because this is probably a bad father moment, but it's reality, right? So we got the call, and they only asked for certain assets. So we only sent certain assets up there to them. I think they just needed some robot operators, maybe some armor initially. So it was maybe like a team of like 4 guys, right? At the time, I was at home with my son, my youngest son. I think at the time he might have been 10. My 2 older boys already grown out of the house. My ex-wife at the time and my daughter were in Florida for a cheer competition, right? So it's probably about 4 o'clock. I get the phone call. We get the page all call. You know, everybody respond to this location. So I called my ex-mother-in-law at the time and said, "Hey, I'm getting a call out. Can you come and stay with Hayden?" I have no idea how long this is going to be, but I had already known, like we had already knew that the guys were already up there and guys were already getting shot at. Again, background, at the end of the day, when it was all said and done, the guy had shot almost 400 rounds total during this 27 hours. So I was on my way up there, and I sent my ex a text at the time, and I said, "Hey, just got a bad feeling about this one. Just do me a favor. Stay off social media. Just don't pay attention to anything. Just enjoy your time in Florida. And I'll call you when I'm done," right? So we get up there. I probably got up there about 5 o'clock. And that's when we started to develop whatever plan. At the time, the plan was we need to evacuate the other homes that are around this area.
Yeah.
So we had already evacuated some, but we had to go evacuate a few others. We had a few others, people that were just, "I'm not leaving my house," right?
Yeah.
So eventually it got to the point to where you're going to leave. You know, this is too dangerous for anyone. You can't stay here. You got to go. Myself and a couple other guys, we got up in the Bear. We knew we had to go get this elderly lady. She was in her 80s. She did not want to leave her home. So it was right across the street from the suspect's house where he was shooting at and stuff like that. So we had to pull the Bear up, nose the Bear up as close as we could get to the house, but there's still a gap where we could bring the team out to go get her and then bring her back through. So, it was my team. It was my job to get those guys through. So we couldn't get the Bear to nose to the house. So somebody had to sit in between the house and the Bear to make sure that no bullets got through. So I was like, "That's me. This is my team. I'm gonna make sure that nobody else is gonna get shot but me."
Wow.
So I set them in. I held it. Once they got through, I came around the corner. As soon as they came back out, I held it again. Let them go back with the lady. We got her in the armored vehicle and got her evacuated out of there.
Unbeknownst to us, not only does he have an AR-15, he has a 300 Win Mag. So in the house, which he did shoot up Columbus's one of their Bearcats.
So he has. I mean, this guy's cranking off rounds left and right.
Yes.
Here you are. Your ex-wife is out of town. You pretty much call your ex-mother-in-law, "Hey, come get the kids." I mean, even that, and I'm gonna let you get back to your story, but even that's taxing on your personal life.
Sure.
Because I think that a lot of people don't understand that when stuff like this happens, whether it's someone's at a bar shooting or someone's at the grocery store or even like a school shooter, everyone's running out where we're running in. You know what I mean? So I don't think people understand the mental capacity that you have to do that. But
Sure.
Go ahead.
So and if I forget, remind me because I'm getting old. So I'll circle back to that and about kind of like the trauma on officers and through their life and things like that.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
kind of the steps that I went through with that as well. So again, kind of going back to the whole scenario and situation, everything that could have gone wrong during that situation did, right? Like Steve said, we sent our robot in, the guy shot the shit out of it, right? Rendered it inoperable. So our robot is inside the house. So we get there, we're doing whatever we can to assist Mansfield. Mansfield's working with us. And then we need to call CPD. CPD gets there, right? So again, we tear off corners of the house. We take away rooms of the house. At some point in time, or we're getting ready to send. There's a garage door. It's open, and there's a car in the garage, but it's still dark in there, so we can't see on the other side. So we ask CPD, "Hey, take the Bearcat, drive it through that car, and drive that car out into the backyard, right through the garage." So they go to do that, but unbeknownst to all of us, when Mansfield was up there initially at the air conditioner Steve was talking about, where they had punched the air conditioner out and were putting their hose through, they left a Halligan tool over there, and it had the pike pointed up.
No.
Right? So Bearcat drives up through it, right? Pops the tire. Right?
It's a drop out this garage.
So
It's not a straight, it's a drop.
that
out
was
the
one.
back.
That was one thing. Okay, and that kind of brought him out. He started shooting again. Another thing.
So the
again,
Bearcat is now stationary in the.
No, they've run flats.
Okay.
But it popped the tire. It just made a loud explosion. So it kind of brought his attention to it, right?
Oh, okay.
So, and then again, our robot was down. We wanted more robots to go inside. We knew Ashland County SO, their bomb unit, had the same robot that we had. It was an I-Core robot. So we called them down. So they come down first. They bring all their. Now again, this is all matter. Time has to happen between everybody responding. Like CPD's got to come up from Columbus to Mansfield. Ashland's got to come down from Ashland down to Mansfield. Like all this, none of this stuff happens.
Yeah, people are thinking this is like in minutes. These are hours.
These are hours.
that
These are
going
hours
on.
in between, right? So, and there's hours that nothing is happening, right? This guy refused any type of communication. Prior to all this stuff happening, we threw a throw phone in there, tried to communicate with him. We brought in, there was a gentleman that was a martial arts instructor that this guy went to his gym. We brought him in, put him in the bear. He was on the loudspeaker trying to communicate. Hey, this is me. Let's talk about this. Let's help this through. Like we did whatever we could.
So
to try
just
to
like
get
the
this guy
movies,
out.
you guys like you put the phone in there trying to talk to him like a negotiator kind of situation.
Yes.
You just can't, yeah,
So
crazy.
So again, Ashland County comes down, brings their robot. We're up on the side of the house. We got an entry team in the bear. We're right outside the house, and we're watching the robot come down the street. Right, the command post is down the road, of course, where they can't see the house, so that way the house can't see them. Right, nobody from the house can shoot out towards the command post. So you see the robot coming down the street. Robot turns into the yard, starts to pull up, and we notice the robot's got to go up the stairs. Right, in order for the robot to go up the stairs, it's got to have a little wheelie bar so it doesn't flip over. It doesn't have it on it. So we're like, hey, stop. It's not going to make it. It goes up there, boom, falls over.
It looks like a graveyard in the front yard.
Yeah. So now this robot is like a flipped over cockroach, right? It can't flip back over. So we're like, dang, that one goes. So then we got another robot. So they send that robot down. That robot dies in the yard. The battery dies in the yard.
I'm not three or four robots in the front yard right in front of us.
They send another one down.
In water.
It dies in the yard. Like all these things that could possibly happen. So then we're like, okay, we're going to send the Bearcat up because the Bearcat is more nimble. It's lighter than our bear to go into the front yard that we've already been dousing this house full of water. So it's this muddy, soppy mess.
So real quick, the Bearcat, for people that don't know, it's the armored vehicle.
Yes.
It's a smaller version of the bear.
Yeah.
Okay, the bear is like the big.
Yes.
The big one, if you ever go to an Ohio State game, we run that detail. Those bears are the size of an MRAP.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Bearcat is just a little bit smaller.
Yeah, the Bearcat's a little bit smaller and lighter.
Okay.
So we're like, hey, CPD, take your Bearcat up there, take your boom or whatever, or just take it up. Actually, I think I'm trying to remember. Nope. We took the boom up there, flipped the robot over on its side so we could get this thing pulled back, right?
Yeah.
So we do. CPD pulls the Bearcat up there, flips it over. Bearcat gets stuck.
Remember, it's muddy.
From the hose.
Because of water.
So we got to pull the bear in there with the winch. So now we got to pull the bear up, right? We got to get guys out of the bear to take the winch up, hook it up to the Bearcat to pull the Bearcat out, right? All this stuff while this guy is in this house
shooting around,
loaded for bear, right? So we got to do all this. Yeah. So we get the Bearcat pulled out, get that out.
That's when he shoots the Bearcat. When they're up there with this wind mag.
So it was. I mean, just all of those things that went wrong could have went wrong. But again, looking back at the entire situation, like working together with all those different outside agencies, really went really well.
But we had a great relationship with everybody because we ran a SWAT school every year at no charge, and we'd have all these agencies. We had Alabama come up. We have Indiana, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Michigan would come to our SWAT schools. And those local guys would come. Columbus has hosted our guys a lot with their SWAT school, but we reciprocate that. And I'm telling you that getting those contacts is invaluable. You have to be open to that.
So going back again, kind of circling back, do you want to finish where this goes?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, all this stuff happens like late into the night. we were flooding the basement, right, to take away that doomsday bunker. At some point in time, there's a lull, and we're like, hey, we shut the water off, right? Because water was coming out of the house. Like, all right, we'll shut the water off. Eventually, we drove up there with the Bearcat, stuck a pole cam down the window, and it was bone dry. Like, there was a industrial sized drain in this freaking house to where all the water was now gone. So that's where the water cannons came in. So we're like, all right, let's shoot water cannons into the house. We know that if you send water into the house, it's going to make its way down to the basement. So let's do that.
And the house is already torn up.
Yep. So we started doing that. By this time, it's close to, 1 o'clock in the morning at some point in time. Again, kind of timelines all kind of, blur together. But at some point in time, again, when we were pushing that car through and that tire popped, that brought him out, he started shooting again. That was the first time we had ever seen him. We had never seen him prior to that. He was only shooting at us. It was the first time we had actually only seen him. So he actually came up through one of the hallways and kind of presented himself at the front door, which we had already taken off with explosive breaching initially. So the door was gone, and we saw him. So he literally just came up, shot at CPD's Bearcat, and rolled right back into the house. So it was kind of like, oh, there he is. And some of our guys, shot a couple rounds because he was shooting at them, shot a couple rounds. And then we're like, did we hit him? We don't know. So we're like, we got to send something inside to see if we can possibly, this is before drones. So we got to send something inside before we can figure out what's going on. So we had to get up close. We had to throw these little dog bone robots that we had. Basically, it's like two wheels with a cylinder in between, in the middle, and they got like a little tail on it. So we can chuck them in, drive them along the floor, and kind of see if we see anything. Drove them in there, couldn't see anything. By this time, it's close to like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. We had already been up there since our initial guys got there like around 2 or 3 o'clock. I got up there about 5 o'clock, so it's 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So we're like, hey, we're gonna let Mansfield come back over, hold it until the morning. We got hotel rooms for all of our guys. We're like, hey, go take a nap. Be back here at 07. So go to these hotels. And then, so I went up to Steve and I was like, hey man, my son's at home. I'm driving back to Columbus. I'll be back by 7. So
I let you drive back?
Yes, you did.
I did.
So, well, regardless, I drove back.
Yeah, I would have fired you.
Yeah. So I left Mansfield at like 2 o'clock in the morning. I got home about 3. I slept till 5. Alarm got up, took a shower real quick. By 06, I was hitting the road, heading back up there to be back there by 7. Yeah. So 7 o'clock, we started back up again, right? Took it back over from them, started the water to make sure that everything was flooded up. We tried to do a couple gas things. Funny story. So again, we left everything the way it was.
Remember the bear that was up at the air conditioning unit?
Yeah.
Well, we have gun ports. So I thought, well, hell, I'm just going to throw another piece of gas down there. So I dropped a gas down, and it went right down in the basement. You could see the gas line. I thought, that's not enough. I'll throw another one. I throw another one. I missed the basement window, and it falls underneath the bear. Well, the bears aren't sealed. I don't have a protective mask on. I don't even know where my mask is.
It was there. Somehow it grew legs overnight.
Yeah.
It wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
We all had ours, though.
Yeah, well, one of those was probably mine. And that's a whole
gassed yourself pretty much.
That's a whole other story. Oh, dude, I came out of the back of that bear to another armored vehicle. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see, but it cleared up and I went back.
Dude, it's like a movie, man.
Manned up.
It is, yeah.
But
So-
get to the part
So
about-
long story short, so we back out. We're out on the road, sitting in the bear, and that's when Steve said, hey, put somebody up in the turret. Now, prior to, the command post was down the street where our robot operators were, right? Because the robot was disabled initially, our robot operators were able to get it. Once we got it out, and I didn't even tell you that story, but that's a whole nother story. I mean, we could be here for days. We got our robot out. Our robot operators were able to get it functional again. However, it could not run independently. It had to be tethered. So we had to move our robot operators to inside the bear. So inside the bear, they were right underneath the turret. So I had a robot operator right underneath me, seeing what was inside. So once we did that, we got in position on the street, sent the robot inside to the last position where we knew where he was at. We had already taken away the basement because we're flooding the basement. We had area denial for the basement. We had already cleaned out the 1, 2 corner. We had cleaned out the 3, 4 corner of the house. We had already sent the car through the garage, so the 2, 3 corner was gone. The only thing that he could possibly be at was going to be back on the 3, 4 corner, so on the back side of the house, the back right side of the house. We couldn't get to it because there were yards that had fences up, and if we had to try, we would have had to try to drive a bulldozer through or something like that to try to tear all those down in order to get there. Like, we're trying not to do all this property damage to these people's house. Mm-hmm. So, but it got to the point to where we were 27 hours in. This has got to end. There's a lot of assets that are being drained at this one target. So we got to try to figure out something. So we had the bear set up on the road. I was holding in the turret, holding on the door, last known position where we had him. We were starting to develop a hasty plan of taking a front end loader and loading it with old ballistic vests,
which was
ceramic plates, and loading it all over to protect one of our SRT operators to be inside of it, to go in and start clearing out the 3, 4 corner.
Let me just
None
tell
of
you
us. So again, yeah, I don't know if this is what you were going to say. None of us from the team were coming up with this plan. This was coming up from a lot higher.
Oh.
We were
who
not
I was
happy
arguing
with.
with.
Yes.
Because these vests would maybe stop a pistol round.
Right.
We were not happy with this at all.
We weren't going to do it
So
in the end.
But good thing was the situation came to an end. So again, I can't remember what happened, what brought him up or out.
I just think he was coming up.
Our robot operator was in the hallway, and they said there's a door opening up. And again, now the robot operator's right underneath me. I'm in the turret of the bear. I'm holding on the front door, again, where we saw him last night, right? That's the position I'm holding. So he says a door opened up. He's coming out. He's coming out. He's got a rifle. He's saying, let's end this. So, our robot had a claw on it, right? And I just remember one of our guys just, trying to make light of the situation. It was like, grab him in the nuts. So, but again, he started shooting at the robot. So the robot operator started backing the robot up, but it backed up to the end of the hallway, boom, stopped. And then he started advancing on the robot. Again, I can't see any of this. All I can see is front door of the hallway. So I'm expecting him to come around the corner and to start shooting at us out on the street. So I put my rifle up right where I think center mass is going to come around. Center mass didn't come around. All I see is the wall. I see a head kind of peek forward and look over at me like this. And then that's where I took the one shot. And that ended it.
Yeah.
And then we extracted the guy immediately. Tried to do aid, but you could tell it was a fatal wound. And brought him out. Dog tags fell out. He was an old guy, probably Vietnam era. Oh, wow. His M16 had a bayonet on the end of it.
He still had his military ID in his LBV, his load bearing vest, completely loaded down with rifle mags.
Had a bayonet on his AR-15. Yeah. I mean, he was OG, really.
Yeah. We're talking about, man, that's well, thank you for the story, obviously, man.
That's not easy to share. Thank you so much for
not
sharing
at all.
that, guys.
I think it actually brings into perspective for our everyday listener or people that are not the police, man, what goes into that, man. Because you talk about, being at home, getting a call out, being there for 27 hours, and then being involved in a critical incident and the effects of after that. You know what I mean? To see someone's head goes around and know that you got to end this. How did that affect you, and what resources did you take moving forward to? Because I mean, officers deal with that. Not all officers, but officers are in critical incidents all the time. Yep. So what support did you have after that?
Yeah. So support. Support from the Highway Patrol was not very good. Let's just put it this way: we learned a lot. We learned a lot in 2015. That was April of 2015 when that happened. In January of 2015, our team with the U.S. Marshals got involved with the shootout with the ringleader of the Short North Posse on the southwest side of Columbus. And that kind of started to push everything. Being on SRT, I'd been on SRT for 15 years, and we had only had one other shooting, right? And again, that was with an ex-CPD officer who had killed his wife, stabbed her to death,
Fernando Harden.
put the divorce decree, stabbed it, and put her on it, and he fled north, right? So we got in a pursuit with him. SRT got called out, got into a shooting with him.
I got sued out of that one unsuccessfully, I might add.
Yeah. So again, it had been years since we had been involved in a shooting. We had been operating for years without, and we felt pretty good. I mean, obviously, that's what you want when you're operating at that level and you're not having uses of force. That's great. Right. That's what you want, and we were very successful in that. So then, January 2015, we have a shooting. Some of our guys involved in that. I was not involved with that shooting as far as being a trigger puller, but I was a supervisor overseeing it. So having to walk my guys through it, thank God Columbus was there to handle the homicide investigation, and the FOP was there to help us through, because the Highway Patrol the Highway Patrol Union at the time, I called them. They didn't send anybody, right? They're on the north end of Columbus. They didn't even send anybody to the south end of Columbus. Yeah. FOP Lodge 9 walked us through that. So thank God they were there to help us through some of those things. So then a few months later, we changed some things because we realized, hey, there's a lot of things that didn't happen right with this shooting in January. So then April came along with my shooting, and then things changed. Now our union drove all the way up to Mansfield to make sure that we were taken care of, to make sure investigatory the statements were made and nothing else was done after that. But we started a relationship with Lodge 9's attorney for that, and that was the same attorney that I had for my shooting as well.
Let me step in here. PTSD is a real thing, from the military and law enforcement. And I know that there were some laws passed that said they're not covering PTSD for first responders. That's bullshit. Because there's a lot of things we all harbor that we've known, whether it's a kid dead in a car crash or a shooting or a murder or suicide. And a lot of agencies need to really crack down and make sure they take care of their people first.
Absolutely. 100%.
And I'll give you a real quick story, not to cut into anything here, but we had a barricade with an officer that was killed by the name of Susan Hopper on January 1st, New Year's Day, down in Eaton, Ohio, off of 70. I get a call, hey, look, there's a guy who went barricade in a trailer park. We think he's killed a deputy. So I bust ass down there, run about 124 miles an hour. I get there. I'm the first SWAT guy on the team, besides my sergeant who lived there, who were on the scene. This guy even shot another officer, and it's on film, where he actually throws, I think he was a local guy that was maybe a volunteer. You could see him, he gets shot with a shotgun. He throws his pistol out of his hand and starts crawling back. I'm not going to comment about why he threw his pistol in, because I don't know. So we get there. He's in a Airstream trailer. They have exchanged shots with him. He shot Susan Hopper in the back of the head. She was knocking on his door, trying to get some information because she saw some casings or something on the ground. She went there because she heard there were shots fired within the trailer court, and she had her camera out when he shot her in the back of the head. So when I get there, she's actually laying in the yard, and I'm dealing with the sheriff at the time, and I said, Sheriff, is your officer dead? He goes, we don't know. She'd been laying there for 45 minutes. I'm going to tell you right now, I'd have got 6 guys together with shotguns, and we would have walked fire in there to get our officer out. Yep. Didn't happen. We're different people. I can Monday morning quarterback it. So they brought in one of these old peacekeepers. Peacekeeper's the one where the doors open the front way, like it's like a bullet trap, when you open them up. And I asked one of a local guy down there, I said, listen, I got 2 of my SWAT guys here and myself. You get us up there, we're going to get her out. And he said, I can't do it. And I said, what do you mean you can't do it? He said, I don't feel comfortable driving up there. I said, get your ass out of the seat. And I put one of our guys in there, and I said, drive us up there. And myself and another guy, he grabbed her and pulled her back, and we got her in the back of the machine. I threw some smoke grenades, got her in the back. Get her out. Now it's just a barricade. So they put her on life flight. She's already expired, of course. And the next thing we do, all of a sudden, our bear showed up, our big bear. And I just looked at the guy driving it, and I said, I'm getting in. I want you to drive through the trailer. We don't need to shoot him. We're going to drive through it if he's still alive. So we did drive through. Don't know if we helped hinder or escalate him passing, but he was dead when we got to him. Walking back with one of my SWAT guys at the end, when we started to do a debrief, we're walking, and he's covered with blood where he dragged her out. And he looks over at me, and this is where, as a commander, I missed a sign. And he said, hey, LT, how do I get the blood out of my uniform? And I said, I'd just throw it in the friggin' wash and throw some, Clorox in with it. And then I got thinking as we left, as I driving home, I thought, you know what? I forgot this officer had been involved with one of his best friends getting killed up in northern Ohio. And that was his stress. That was his, up here, things weren't functioning right. That's probably why he asked that question, which I thought at the time was probably a dumbass question. And I called him that night and I said, hey, I need to, talk with you. Are you okay? And I'm sorry I missed this. And we had a talk the next day. He since ended up leaving the team later on, through some other things that happened medically. And but I missed that. And we know our people. We were a tight team. I made it a point to know everybody. And I always joked with them, the 28 other guys. I said, hey, I got to know all you guys. You just have to know me. And I missed that. And Brandon, in the same cause at that time, he didn't have the help that was available, that should have been available to him to de-escalate. Whatever he was doing, he may have been fine. We've all been fine in tragic incidents because we think we're hard and all that. But they come back up sometimes. And, so thank goodness the patrol did end up, what do they call it now, MAT team?
Yes, well, they had the MAT team for a long time. Yeah. They called it Ohio Assist and all things like that. So again, kind of going back to what I went through and everything else. So for me personally, I felt nothing. I didn't feel anything at all. I knew I did my job. I knew I did what was asked of me, and to me, that's what caused questions in my mind. Like, am I a sociopath? Like, how did I just do this?
Yes, you are.
And I have no feelings. Like, I'm not losing sleep. I'm not changed. Like, nothing is happening. Like, I don't know. None of us, when we take the oath, when we do the job, none of us know what to expect when any of those things happen to us. Like Steve said, trauma happens to all of us. We have no idea what that trauma is going to be. It could be pulling the trigger one day. It may not be. It may be seeing a dead child. It may be seeing a bad domestic. It may be seeing the same person that you've arrested several times, that, you know what, you're trying to reach out to this person and try to say, listen, this is what, you can fix this. What you've done in the past is not the path that you want to keep going down the road. You can fix this. And later on, a few weeks, a few months, you see him dead in the streets because the streets got him, right? So all these things, trauma happen differently. So for me, again, I felt nothing, and I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what that was, but I didn't say nothing to nobody. So again, like when Steve was talking
about it, even
we did, but when Steve talked about the other incident happened in Clark County, and that same officer that said it was asking about the blood on my uniform, he was also involved in the shooting on the south side of Columbus with the Short North Posse ringleader, right? He was also involved, not directly involved, in Mansfield, right? All these things started to compound. On top of that, there was another officer that was involved in that too. He started to struggle with some things that was, not only that was going on in the job, but things that was happening in his life that all started to compound together. So when I started to see this, it was too late. That officer had already started down a downward spiral. We started to recognize it because at the team room, we would be at the team room together as a team. If we weren't training or out doing warrants or something like that, if we were back at the team room, we would all go at lunch and we'd all eat lunch together, right? As a cohesive unit. He stopped doing that. He was out in his car by himself, on his phone and do whatever. And we were starting to question him. Like, bro, what are you doing? Like, why are you hanging out here? Come in here with us. But none of us knew these were signs that something was going on, something was happening. We're all A-type personalities. Majority of us all put on a uniform. We're all A-type personalities. I do not, with my A-type personality, I do not want to show or display to you also additional A-type personalities that I'm hurting inside, that I'm struggling, right? So I'm going to hide it. So that's where I kind of got involved with, this is what needs to change. So I was involved as a supervisor, involved in a shooting, saw some of the guys struggling later on. I was involved in a shooting. I go see a shrink, right? Protocol says you're involved in officer-involved shooting. You go see a psychologist, make sure you're okay. You got to be cleared, right? I go in, talk to the shrink. He tells me what happens. I tell him what happened. He was like, he starts telling me all Vietnam War stories. He was like, yeah, I think you're good. You know, enjoy your 3 days off. You know, we'll clear you to go back to work. And that was it. There was no follow-up afterwards. There's nobody checking on you to see how things are going. So what we found out once our officers started to struggle with that stuff later on is we said, there needs to be a follow-up.
Yeah,
like,
I got vocal about it.
we don't know when that follow-up should be, whether that follow-up is 6 months down the road, a year down the road, whatever. But that follow-up needs to happen with that officer, and not only that officer, but that officer's spouse or significant other. Because again, as A-type personalities, we're going to hide this stuff from each other.
Right.
I'm not going to let you know I'm hurting. But you know who is going to see that we're hurting and that we're struggling? Our spouse or significant other. They're going to see that, right? And they're the ones that can say, you know, yes, I've noticed this. I've noticed that. We've seen some changes in them. And that could possibly seek some of that help.
It's definitely interesting, man, because I think that, you know, as much as we sign up for this job, you know, our families are signing up for it, you know, as well. So before we wrap it up, because I mean, we can talk to you guys all day, man. You know, these are amazing.
I was gonna say, I was looking at the time already. We already waited on.
No, you're fine. Yeah, man. This is an amazing time, man. I just want to ask just a couple quick questions, and then we'll end it. So these are some rapid fire questions, very short responses. Best piece of gear, SWAT, you in your opinion, that you think SWAT uses?
Tac vest with plates.
Okay.
With a crotch pad.
Hollywood's worst SWAT mistake. So when people look at all these movies and they see SWAT, what's the worst mistake?
The damn music playing behind them.
No. You know, I think everything is as every day, every episode. It's always the worst day in the world, right? So, and that's not the way.
And you know what? When you shoot somebody, they don't fall backwards. They don't get blown 10 feet back. They just drop.
Just drop.
Mm-hmm.
If they do that, sometimes they fight through it.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're using 9mm for the most part. People fight right through that.
Yeah. Last one, Brandon. I know that, and we don't have the clip, but we'll show a little bit in the actual video. At one point in your career as an early trooper, you tased the guy how many times on the highway?
5 times.
5 times on the highway.
He didn't work for me then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I did. I was on SRT. That's why I had taser.
Why did I keep you?
Because it was by policy. It was done correctly. As a matter of fact, I didn't get a dime for that. You know, Taser International, you all owe me some money.
Do you know what about that? And I hate to segue, and I'm not one-upping because he nailed that guy, right? I was the first one to get shot by a taser for the division. They were trying to sell it to big agencies.
Right.
And Hans Marrero, who was their lead instructor, knew me. Mm-hmm. And I'm in a crowd of 50 people watching a buffalo get knocked down 5 times. And he says in the middle of all that, hey, Steve, we're going to go out in the gym, and you said you're going to take a shot, right? And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't say shit. And they said, I just watched a buffalo get knocked down 9 times, but I had to man up, man. I said, okay, I'll take it. And I go out in the damn gym, and they shoot me in the middle of all 50 people, and I hated Hans from then on. I never talked to him again.
That taser is honorary, man. It's a bad one. Yeah. Well, listen, Brandon, Steve, we appreciate you guys for joining us, man. Like I said, we talk to you guys all day. But
we'll be more than happy to come back on and tell you some real stories.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I know a lot of OSP guys are going to watch this.
Those weren't real?
Because I know a lot of OSP guys are going to watch this. I got to give a shout out to my uncle, Bo Elliott, and then my buddy, Scott, who works with the helicopters. And I want
Your uncle's Bo Darius?
Bo Elliott.
Bo Darius. That's why I call him.
You call him? Bo Darius? Yeah, that's my uncle, yeah.
You poor guy.
And I want to thank the families and the spouses that make all of this possible. We're able to go do our job. They're able to do their call-outs and do their operator stuff. We cannot thank you guys enough for making all of this possible and for helping keep the civilians and our citizens safe.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in with another episode of Off Duty Opinions, where real conversation meets unfiltered opinions. Tune in with us next time. I'm pretty sure we'll have something great for you guys. Until then, we'll see you.